At one point, I don't know how, I was tricked, I guess, into performing a skit with my father, who is not an actor, and the subject material we performed in the skit was from the Andy Griffith Show. Hi, my name's Mark, and welcome to the channel. Today is another Wednesday Unwind. I'm going to be sitting, winding some yarn, and having a conversation with you. Let's get into it. Today I'm winding some Rios. This is Malabrigo Rios in the color Teal Feather 412. And I'm going to show it first on this camera. I think the color is a little more true from my front camera. And then above head, maybe it looks the same to you. Maybe it looks different. Really pretty color, super tealy. It might be, it's definitely more green in person. So take the color you see on your screen and imagine it more green. This is a color that I am using for a sweater for a friend. And I've said before on the channel, I'm a somewhat selfish or a very selfish crafter. I usually make things exclusively for me. Every once in a while, I'll crank out a sweater for my husband. Other than that, everything I'm making is for me. It's filling my closet. It's something I'm doing to learn a new skill, or something I'm doing because I want to make whatever it is. And when I reflect on that, I feel I feel like a monster. I feel really selfish because a lot of people that I know and a lot of people I see out in the world almost exclusively make things for other people. They're constantly making things for grandchildren and for neighbors and children, daughters-in-law, sons-in-law, and I'm like, that's so generous of you. I need to grab a pair of scissors one moment. It's incredibly generous. And then here I am making myself a dozen sweaters. And it's like, how many sweaters do you need? So to answer that question and to cover something that often comes up in these videos, I don't need that many sweaters. And this is a knitting channel. This is a crochet channel. This is a place where I talk about fibers and crafting and techniques, successes and failures. So if you are a troll in the comments who's come here to tell me that whatever you've already heard or whatever you're going to hear in this video doesn't matter in the big picture, there are bigger issues in the world, you are absolutely correct, and you don't need to take the time to comment it. The things I talk about here are usually things blown out of proportion. It's an experience I had or something that has to do with crafting that obviously is not life or death and is not as important as bigger things going on in the world. So please don't come for me. Please don't be too critical of the fact that these are the things I'm talking about, because again, this is YouTube. This is my crafting channel. So thanks for being here. If you're someone who's watched me before, you've probably heard that speech, and you probably have a decent idea of who I am and how I live, what's important to me, but it might be your first time here. So if it's your first time, welcome. I'm glad you're here. And the thing I'm going to talk about today, besides the fact that I'm a selfish knitter, this sweater, to finish that thought, is a gift for a very good friend of mine, and it's something that I've put off for a couple of years now. So I think I have 2 promised sweaters. I promised 2 different friends sweaters for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it's as a thank you, sometimes it's because they are just so important to me that I want to do it, and then I make them wait a really long time. So if you're a crafter and you've ever agreed to do something for a friend, I'm sure that you can relate to that. Sometimes when you have a deadline for your craft, it no longer feels fun, or you just get taken in by new patterns and designs or things that are popular. Something else strikes your interest. So with some of my new videos I'm doing on the channel where I'm sitting and knitting, sitting and answering questions, I'm going live on YouTube, I need projects that I can do that don't require me to check in with the pattern too often so that I can be engaged with the people that I'm spending time with. So this is a pattern. They had already picked the pattern, and it's one that I can do in those scenarios. So I thought that's a good push, a good excuse for me to get it on the needles, get started, and get them their long-awaited sweater. So I only have a few skeins to wind, and I'll see how much I can chat with you as I do this. The thing I wanted to chat about today is performance. The idea of performing, putting yourself out there. I would love to hear from you who watch. Are you a performer? And what I mean is, are you a performer in any sense? Were you in a play in middle school? Did you sing in a talent show at summer camp? Did you do skits at your church, in the church basement or the church hall? Some people have commented and have told me that they have degrees in music or theater, and they are professors now, or they are performers. And if you have gotten to know me a little bit, or if you already know me in person, I'm a performer. I'm a classical singer and a pianist. And so about half of my work I do is performance related. And so I think that's really cool when I find other crafters, other people that do the same line of work or the same sort of style of things that I do in life. It's fun to have that in common. So I want to hear from others. What's your background? Have you ever been a performer in any sense? And the reason that I'm prompted to ask this question is because I've been serving as a judge, as an adjudicator for a voice competition that my best friend Teresa runs through her music studio, the Vogel Academy in South Jersey. Oh, I'm already having trouble winding. So I've spent several days of this past week watching these recorded auditions, these virtual auditions, and adjudicating, giving feedback, giving a score to these young singers who have put themselves out there with this performance. And as I'm watching these young singers, they're middle schoolers and high schoolers, so I don't think any of them are professional performers yet. Some might have some professional experience doing regional theater or something like that. But these are students. These are people just learning, and they're putting themselves out there with these auditions, with this competition. And so they've recorded a couple of musical theater pieces or classical vocal pieces and then submitted them to get feedback and hopefully win a place in this competition. And as I've watched, it's a whole variety of skill level. Some people, you can tell, have been studying and practicing their whole lives. Other people might be doing it for the first time. You never know when that strikes you or the opportunity to learn from a teacher or a coach presents itself. So the overall message that I'm getting to is that as I watch these performances, I'm just blown away by how brave these young people are to learn a piece of music, to then add character to it. You're not just standing singing from a score. You are memorizing a piece, you're working on it with a coach or a director, and then you are recording a performance of it. And you're competing. You're putting yourself out there for critiques and feedback, which I think is like the worst thing in the world. I feel so scarred from my time as a music student and a graduate student, putting myself out there for someone to tell me, nope, you lose, or no, we don't like this about you. And that's not the point, usually. Usually the point is that somebody needs to fill a space, whether it's a job or a prize in a competition, a spot in a school program. And the idea is that you need to fill what they're envisioning. And performance, music, beauty, art, all of this is so subjective. There's very little black and white to say this person is better than this person or this person deserves something more. I mean, it's so ambiguous and subjective. So watching these performances from the middle schoolers and high schoolers in this competition, I'm just struck by how brave they are. And so many of them have all the confidence in the world, or at least they're able to create that for their moment of performance. And the older I get, the more anxious I get, the more nervous I get in my own life. And so when I see people that are so brave, so confident, so willing to share that part of themselves, I'm really impressed. So that's why I bring you the question. Have you been in that situation? Did you study voice, dance, acting? Were you a figure skater? I mean, what did you do in life? And did any of that stay with you into your adulthood? And I just want to hear about it. It's on my mind. I think it's so interesting to learn what people's artistic passions are. Whether or not that ever turned into a job or a career for you, if it was something you were passionate about and you poured energy and time into it, I'd love to hear about it. Let me pause to say that I'm winding Malabrigo Rios, which I think, no offense to Malabrigo, is notorious for being tangled and mangled in its hanks or skeins. Someone asked me in a comment once if I snap the yarn before I put it on the Swift. And I don't snap it, I stretch it. I stretch it and I kind of roll it through my hands to make sure that it's all untangled and facing the right direction for winding. But I don't snap it. Maybe I need to snap it to get it to work. You're probably watching at home yelling through the screen, oh, do this, you're messing it up. Oh. I think we have a decent start. So I wanted to walk through some of my own stories and experiences as you are percolating on your answer to my question. Maybe you've already put it in the comments, or maybe you'll do it at the end of the video. So I grew up in a church where there was a lot of music. So I learned to read music first in church choir, which was really helpful. I'm glad that I learned music literacy. It served me really well into my performing life. It's a skill I use every day and gives me a leg up in a lot of situations that I'm a confident sight reader, both at the keyboard and with voice. Anyway, so I grew up in a church with a lot of music, and so that meant singing in choir, playing handbells, which I love. I'll tell you more handbell stories in the future if you care. And playing piano and playing organ eventually. So it was a very good resource for my music education. And I'm just going through my mind thinking of some of the situations where I put myself out there and then fell flat on my face and faced embarrassment or rejection. And one of those was when I was a boy soprano. And I was very annoying. If any of my siblings are watching this video, they know how annoying I was. And so you can just imagine like the most annoying little brother you can, and then give him the ability to sing like an operatic soprano, and give him a baton that he can twirl in the front yard for all the neighbors to see and for the neighborhood to hear. And that's me. So eventually in church, I sang "O Holy Night." And if you're familiar with the piece, in the final verse, you sing a high note, higher than you did in the first couple of verses. And I was singing it in a sort of operatic way. I was in choir. I had learned to use my voice in a sort of classical way. So it was a robust, large sound. It was a pretty voice. I was a talented child, but it was loud. And so at this church, I don't think people knew what was coming. They give me a microphone, which is always a bad idea to give anyone a microphone unless you really know what's going to happen. So I have this microphone, big one, and they say sing right into it, like your face should touch the microphone, which is also scary advice for people that don't know what they're doing. So I'm singing directly into the microphone. I'm probably 10 years old, like an operatic soprano. And I see my siblings in the pew, and they're like buried into their hands, so embarrassed. And after the service, one of them said something like, "You're not allowed to sing in public anymore," which at the time was very hurtful. But I understand what they meant. It was a lot. It was embarrassing because I'm singing so loudly into a microphone. I should not have had a microphone. I should have sung naturally into the acoustic of the room. But this is a Baptist church in the South, and the year is 2002, and we don't know any better. So that's the setup. And they were embarrassed by me. I was embarrassed afterwards because I felt like I didn't realize that there was anything goofy about it. I was just living my truth at the time. In hindsight, I totally get it, and I would not set a child up for that. So that's one memory of a little bit of embarrassment. Not embarrassment because I was a singer or because I sang high or in an operatic way, but because I was set up for failure to sing this piece in a robust operatic fashion directly into a microphone that's then blasting through the sound system on Christmas Eve. So that's one big embarrassment. Another that comes from that same church is that at one point, I don't know how, I was tricked, I guess, into performing a skit with my father, who is not an actor. And the subject material we performed in the skit was from the Andy Griffith Show. And I grew up watching the Andy Griffith Show every night with my family. I had seen every episode by the time I was 7 or 8 years old, to the point where you know the lines, you know what's coming. It was just a staple of our household growing up. So somehow, someone gave my dad, my businessman father, the bright idea that he and his youngest son should perform a skit playing the roles of Andy and Opie from the Andy Griffith Show in church. And I pray that there's not a video of this anywhere, because no one should see it again. So that's another scarring memory of just something bizarre that we did in church. I really don't know why. Moving forward with these stories, when I was in middle school, I joined a boys' choir, and this was a very good place for me to be. It was a good environment for me to understand how to use my voice, and it was a good place for me to fit in. I had a strong voice, I sang classically, my voice had vibrato, I sang really high. So being in a choir where I could be a soprano, where I was meant to sing in a full supported way, was the perfect place. It was a much better place for me to be singing compared to my driveway with the baton. So that was a great environment. And after that, I wanted to audition for a musical. And I had never been in a musical before, but I really liked musical theater. So the Community Theater Center in the city was doing a production of Beauty and the Beast. And I was so excited. I'm sure that I wanted to be Chip. I think that's like the only child role. But I wanted to be in it. I wanted to be in the chorus. I wanted to be a townsperson. Or maybe if I got a role, I wanted to be Chip. Meanwhile, here I am in 6th grade. I am 6 feet tall and as large as a refrigerator. Yet, I still have an operatic soprano voice, and my speaking voice was as high as you can imagine. And so I go into this audition, and we have to sing a song and then dance around and read some lines. And for whatever reason, it could have been A, I wasn't that talented, B, someone else was more talented than I was, or C, I was a refrigerator trying to get cast in the role of Little Broken Teacup. It didn't work out. I didn't get cast. I wasn't even cast as a townsperson. And I was really sad. I felt sad to be rejected because I wanted to participate in it. And again, it could have been for a myriad of reasons. So I don't blame anyone, I promise. But I was a little sad to be rejected. Moving past that, I was attending a performing arts school, and by the time I reached high school, not even by the time my voice changed, but by the time things settled and I understood how to fit in and how to find pieces of music that suited my skills and audition well, all of that, I enjoyed plenty of moments of success of having a role or having a solo and having positive reinforcement, which is how I ended up here as a performer and a musician in my professional adult life. But along the way, crazy stuff happens, and it can be so, I don't know, chilling, embarrassing. It can feel so exposed, and one can feel so fragile auditioning for something or inviting criticism, hopefully constructive criticism, but inviting it, saying, I'm auditioning, I'm putting myself out there for you to tell me yes or no, or maybe for you to give me feedback and coaching and direction. And at least in my mind, for whatever reason, that's hard. It's a hard thing to do. I'm sure some people watching will say or might comment and say, there's nothing weird about that. I love getting feedback. I love for people to tell me what's wrong. And if that's how you feel about it, that's amazing. I'm jealous, and I wish I could bottle that approach, that feeling, and apply it to my own person, because that's not how I feel. But everybody's different, and everybody comes from a different experience and background. So those are my stories for today. A little bit about performing, musical theater, success, rejection. And if you want to hear more about certain things, you can ask me in the comments, and then I will plug them for future videos. But I'd love to hear from you. What's your background like? Did you have an artistic passion, a performance-related passion? And if so, tell me your stories. Did you play the carrot in your 4th grade science play? I want to know. All right, I've got the yarn wound in front of me. This really isn't the color of the yarn. It's a pretty color on camera, super blue. But that's not the real color of the yarn. It's really green in real life. So I'll take a picture of this with my phone. I'll insert it here on screen so you can see what the yarn really looks like. And I don't know that I'll need more than 4 skeins for this sweater project. I have a couple reserved in case I need them. So I've got what I need wound for today. And once the project is in progress, I'm sure it will show up on the channel at some point. Thank you so much for spending this Wednesday Unwind with me. I hope to hear from you in the comments about what you're working on. Maybe you have a story to tell me based on today's topic. Either way, thank you for being here with me. If you haven't already, subscribe for future videos on the channel. Happy knitting, happy crocheting, happy crafting to you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Hi, Mark here, jumping into this Wednesday video to give you an announcement about an upcoming series that I've started here on my YouTube channel. So on select Fridays, it won't be every week, but at least once a month, maybe twice per month, I'll be uploading a video on Fridays on the channel, and it's going to be a Friday Flash Fiber Friday. Flash Fiber Fridays. And in these videos, they'll be brief. I'll be talking about a yarn that I like, a yarn that's special to me. Maybe it's something I found on a trip. Maybe it's something I use all the time. Anyway, I'll be sharing this fiber with you, talking about why I like it, talking about its qualities, and then this yarn that's featured each week or each time I post the video will be up for a giveaway. So the last time I had a subscriber giveaway a couple weeks ago, people were excited about it. I had more people participate, and I talk about fiber all the time. I love working with a variety of fibers, and so I want to start sharing some of those favorites with viewers. Whew, I feel long-winded about all of this. Anyway, check back on Friday to see my first Flash Fiber Friday video, and you'll have your chance to enter for the yarn. Typically, you'll just enter by leaving a comment on the video. I'm trying to make this as accessible to as many viewers as possible. So check back this Friday for my first Flash Fiber Friday giveaway, and you'll have 24 hours from the time the video is posted to enter. So that's the flash part. It's going to be quick. And within about 48 hours of me posting the video, I will have selected a winner, and then I'll reach out to you to arrange shipping the yarn. Anyway, thanks for being here for this video, and I hope to see you on Fridays for Flash Fiber Fridays.